because of social media as well, it looks as though people are creating these things
Out of
nothing.
Because
Because we have social media, it seems that, this person happened to just bring a Tesla into their life, or this person just happened to have the perfect relationship.
That's so interesting.
And it's not even just that we're buying into this product, but we're buying into the idea that there's no process behind the product.
Oh, how many of us are successful and tormented?
That's so
Do you
good,
get what
Courtney.
I mean? Because things came to us and we became overwhelmed because we didn't train for them.
We didn't. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online big sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Now, we are all about promoting the wellness, growth, and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are talking about manifesting. Yes, you've heard about it all. Manifesting millions, bae, affirmations, the law of attraction. But when it comes to success, is the power of thinking enough? How do you find the balance between hard work and belief? I'm really interested. I'm really excited for this one.
Ooh, juicy.
It's going to be a good one. But before we get into today's conversation, as always, we have a dilemma from one of the sisters. So let me just read before I mess it up. But hey sisters, a subby here. Love your content. Thank you very much. I have a dilemma. My parents are really overbearing and don't see me as an adult, despite the fact that I am now 21 years of age. It's really frustrating as I still have to tell them where I am going and when, as well as being told what to do. I live with my parents, so it's a bit more difficult. How can I get them to treat me more like an adult?
Ooh, the quintessential coming of age dilemma.
Yeah.
And parents do not want to see them as an adult.
Yes. What do you do?
I think first of all, we do need to realize that regardless of how old you become, parents will always see you as their child.
Yes.
Whether or not you are a child is the question, but you will always be their child.
Definitely.
So there's always going to be some, duty of care. There's always going to be some kind of relationship where they feel obliged to take care of you in some way.
Which is good.
It's really, really good. In terms of trying to change that relationship with your parents, because that's essentially what one is trying to do here. I mean, obviously have, the transparent conversations with them, as and when is possible, as scary as that can be, because it's really important to actually sit your parents down every now and again and be like, hey, I'm actually old now.
But what if you don't have parents that listen?
Well, if you don't have parents that listen, now this is going to sound a little bit controversial. Sometimes you have to force it. That, I'm not saying...
I was about to say, kidnapping.
I'm not saying that you should intentionally pick fights with your parents.
Okay.
But there will be some times where you will be able to choose to do something and you will have to draw their attention to it, for better or for worse, that you are an adult.
And you have to stand your ground.
Absolutely. There's been some times where, for example, when I was still living with my mother, I would go out and I would come back. Not that I was doing anything, extravagant or anything.
You're a good one.
I like to remind them I'm a good child.
You're a good one.
Allegedly. There would be times where I would come back, a little bit later. My mom is asking me, where I'm going. And I don't tell her. I just say, listen, mom, I love you, but you don't have to stay up waiting for me.
Yeah.
I'm a grown woman and I will go where I please.
Yeah.
Now, if you're fortunate enough to have parents that are willing to sit down, have that conversation with you, that's cool. Sometimes it may, devolve into a shouting match, but the resolution here is making sure that you hit home as many points as possible and as many times as you can that you are an adult. And I think you also need to demonstrate that behavior to them as well.
Yes.
I think it's not enough to just say you're an adult, but you also have to display adult-like behavior.
You've got to prove that you can be trusted.
Absolutely. And whether it be things like, paying for your own bills or even contributing to household bills. I mean, if you do live, with your parent, then doing something like that is a really great gesture to show, listen, I'm an adult now. I don't take it lightly that I live with you. And as an adult that, you live with, I'm willing to show you how much responsibility I'm willing to take on as an adult. It might not even have to be that. It could be something else. There's other examples. But I think also it's not just about putting your foot down and speaking, but also matching your actions with this whole narrative of you being an adult. Like if someone said, I'm an adult, I'd be like, prove it. Show me.
Yeah, show me.
So that's my 2 pence. But Courtney, what do you think?
I think you're spot on. I think you've got to demonstrate that you're not just mature in age, but you're mature in character. And I think sometimes parents, they want to keep you, like you said, you're my child, and they may want to keep you protected, but you have to show them that whilst I love that you want the best for me, I also want the best for me, and I love you and I honor you, I respect you, but you have to allow me to flee the nest and have a level of independence that allows me to kind of protect myself in a way that you're not being coddled and stifled and overprotective. Like sometimes parents can be overprotective, and it leads to children that have no life experience. Like you haven't, yes, your parents can be disappointed in you and maybe they want to save you from the troubles of failure, but failure builds character. And sometimes making those, wrong decisions of dating the wrong person, going to the wrong place, like as long as it's not life ending, sometimes sometimes your parents tell you, I don't want you to be friends with that person. And you're like, no. Like this is my good friend, and then it turns out they were a bad egg, right? But sometimes it's important to have those situations because it improves your discernment. Because if you're not careful, you'll constantly have to then rely on your parents to G-check every single person, or to kind of vet every person that you meet. And then what happens when your parents aren't there? What happens when you go on to live your own independent life where you may have to raise your own kids? At some point, you have to stand on your own 2 feet and kind of, like you said, kind of just depend on yourself a little bit. Sometimes I do have an issue with, I do think if your parents ask you where you're going, a simple "I'm going here" is fine. Like fine. Small things like that, just so they know you're safe. If you
peace of mind,
peace of mind. Like if you don't come home, they know where to look for you. But if they're like, no, be home by this time and curfew and stuff, I think 21 is that awkward stage because you've just come out of university here in the UK, or like you're near the end of your college kind of degree. Or if you didn't go to university, maybe you've been working, but you're just out of being a teenager.
Like you've just turned into an adult.
And you're a young adult at that. Like you're in your early 20s. It's kind of known for being reckless, etc. Do you get what I mean? It's hard to then say, I'm going to go and be a completely independent person. Like I'm going to leave home or something like that. But I think in the worst situations where your parents are extremely controlling, I think one thing that, and I love that you mentioned it, one thing that makes us, that often forces us to stay in situations where we're unhappy is finances, right? And I think this is something we mentioned in the side hustle episode. Once you show your parents that you have a little bit of financial independence, they start losing the hold of their control. Like if it wasn't for tradition, they wouldn't really be able to control you that much, because really worst comes to worst, I don't have to live here. And our parents always used to, when you're under my roof, you follow my rules. But what if I don't have to be under your roof anymore? Do you get what I mean? And that can often lead to like massive rebelliousness. And so I think in order to kind of not act wild, and I'm sure sis is not a wild person, you have to really let your parents know, I love you and you need to trust that you raised me right.
That's true.
And I think a lot of parents don't really raise us believing, how do I put this? Our parents protect us as their children. They don't nurture the adults that will be, if that makes sense. So when your parents are raising you, they're raising you as, that's my daughter, that's my son, they're my child, right? Then they need to trust that they raised you in a way where they were thinking, this person is going to go on to be a woman. She's going to go on to be an adult. She's going to go on to be, a working girl. She's going to go off to be a grown person who's going to have to make their own decisions. I need to raise them in a way where they can have autonomy and they can have their own way of thinking that keeps them on the path that I've set them on. I think sometimes our parents fear that I'm going to set you on this path and I'm going to put these really strict barriers so that you don't fall off of it. And I'm going to never let those barriers fall so that you'll continue on this path. But the true test of good parenting, I think, I'm not a parent yet, but I think is when I remove the training wheels, when I remove the barriers, when I remove those guiding lines, will you stay on course? And I think sometimes parents fear that. And it's that letting go, like when you're riding a bike and you're holding the handlebars with the kid and now you got to let go. And if they fall, you got to view them having maybe a grazed knee and a little bit of blood, but at least they tried and they keep trying and maybe they keep falling, but at some point they'll get it. But then the sad part, I guess, for parents is you're going to have to watch them ride off and go away and you don't know where they're going and what life has in store for them. But that's the excitement of life.
Yeah.
And so I think if you kind of sit down with your parents and you let them know, you raised me right. Like I've had an amazing childhood, or maybe even if you didn't, I've learned a lot. Just put it in those words. I've learned so
you
much.
Traumatized me, but you know what? That's okay.
I've learned a lot. You need to let me spread my wings and kind of put that to the test. So I think it does come down to conversation. If you have parents that don't want to listen though, bye.
She said throw the parents away.
At some point you have to love from a distance. Because but on a real though.
She said put them in the bin. Your parents.
No, I love my parents, for example, yeah. But at some point, if they're holding you back from fulfilling your own life and your own destiny and doing things that will make you successful, they're holding you back from a lot because they can't live through you and they're not going to be here forever. So then what happens when your parents pass away and you realize that you've been living for them? And now who are you living for? And now you don't even know who you are. I feel like sometimes we have to be careful that we don't make our parents like the be all and end all, because they didn't do that with their parents, I don't think. No. Like most times. And also you never learn freedom that way.
Yeah, it's true.
So you've got to be careful in that's what I'd say. I hope that helps though.
Hope it does.
I hope that helps. Well, that was an interesting one actually.
Yeah, that was quite the dilemma.
We've spoken about parents quite a bit, and I think it's one of those relationships that don't really get unpacked enough, because they are the most life-shaping dynamic, relationship that we have.
Oh, we're gonna get to it, boy.
We sure. I mean, go and listen to Broken from the Womb, an episode from season 1, if you want to know more about that kind of parents, relationships, family, stuff like that. But sis, hope that helped you. But we're about to jump into today's main conversation on manifestation. Every time I think of manifestation, I think of B. Simone. Is that her name?
Yeah.
B. Simone, and I manifested $1 million and but
manifest what you want.
A lot of people say
manifest whatever you want, you can have it. Manifest it.
Wow. You really sound like an American man.
I've been practicing.
You do it very well. I feel encouraged. I feel motivated. Yeah. Okay. Let's backpedal a bit. For anyone who is watching who doesn't know what we mean when we say manifesting, because it has spiritual connotations, religious connotations. Yeah. It has, it has psychological psychological meanings. What are we talking about? What's the cultural definition of manifesting? What is the manifestation rhetoric?
I think, to put it very simply, it is this culture or this idea that if you think or ponder on something that you want or desire, it can happen for you. That the universe will change, transform to ensure that anything that you put your mind to will manifest, but materialize, become a thing. And I think you're so right in talking about the spiritual references, because I think there's a lot of different religions as well as cultures that speak to this idea of positive thinking enabling action or enabling the materialism of something. And for us as Christians, for example, this whole idea of meditation and this whole idea of thinking deeply about things and having faith and all that kind of stuff. But in today's context, it's very much this idea of, I've thought about it. It's going to happen. It's very much so. And it's similar, law of attraction, kind of affirmations. I say it enough. I think it enough. And I believe in it enough that it becomes a real thing. And I think it sounds good. And I think that leads me to, it leads me to my next question of, why do you think so many people are warming to this? I think it's quite obvious, but why is it picking up more? Why has it gone away from, these kind of new agey, I thought about it so much and I just, and you know what I mean? But you get what I mean? Maybe a decade ago, right? You would meet somebody who was
I just believed it so much, and I just thought about it so much, and I wrote it down over and over again. And I looked in the mirror and I said these words, and I had a mantra and all of these things, or I prayed really hard and it happened.
Yeah.
And people be looking at them like, it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, and literally people, I manifested, like they'll post, you know, they just hit $1 million in sales or £1 million in sales, and you know, or they got married, and it's like, I manifested this, you know. But
you know what kills me is the movement.
No, but it's literally like, it came out of me, like sorry, we're really clowning, and you guys already know here we don't take ourselves seriously. But yeah, I manifested it, right? Why are people warming to this, and why is it on the rise? Like, why are more people talking about it?
I think that manifestation is very seductive. It's nice to believe
that's a serious word.
It's seductive, isn't it? It takes you in. This whole idea that anything you want, you can have.
Okay. This
whole idea that not just anything you want, you can have, but from you, anything you want, you can have. This isn't an external thing. This is about me and what I believe I can have.
I don't need to ask anyone.
I don't need to ask permission.
I just need to want it.
I just need to want it bad enough, and I deserve it. I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna get it. You know, it's very, very seductive, and it places us at the center. Once again, it's all about me. And notice when we talk about manifesting stuff, it's usually stuff. It's never I want to manifest
good character.
Ain't nobody talking about good character.
I'm trying to manifest being a less angry person.
I'm trying to manifest having a Tesla, a Range Rover. I'm trying to have a big house. I'm trying to get crazy. You know, the 6-figure, 7-figure business. I'm trying to manifest a bay. It's all about bringing into being a thing as opposed to like character trait or something less tangible. And I think that's really seductive. The fact that, you know, we're getting rid of this whole idea of working hard, because I think the generation before us, like the baby boomer generation, was very much if you work hard, you'll
elbow grease. Literally elbow grease. Like, if you want it, you gotta
roll up your sleeves. You gotta work hard for it.
Bring home the bacon. And I think what's very different about that generation to this generation is, of course, the social context, the circumstances, the fact that, you know, houses were a lot cheaper, the fact that, you know, people had, normative jobs that were very like vocational and they could afford things. Now, this generation, we're seeing things that we didn't think were possible before. We're seeing people rise and become stars at alarming rates. We're seeing, you know, influencer culture really rise and take off in this generation. And it looks, because of social media as well, it looks as though people are creating these things out of nothing. Because we have social media, it seems that, this person happened to just bring a Tesla into their life, or this person just happened to have the perfect relationship. That's so interesting.
And it's not even just that we're buying into this product, but we're buying into the idea that there's no process behind the product.
Oh,
and it's crazy.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Stop it.
So for anyone who kind of does believe in manifesting and stuff, because I do believe in faith. Like you have faith 100%. For something and you get it. So I think what I love about what you just said is product without process. If you want something, and I guess we're going to go into this when we talk about balancing working hard with faith and manifesting, because if you want something and it causes you to focus and zero in, and now all of your actions become directed towards getting what it is you want, I think that makes sense. You know, I worked hard and I got it because I was focused on it. I wanted it bad enough and I did it. Cool. But I think what's so essential about what you just said is oftentimes it seems like things have come out of absolutely nowhere. Like you became literally an overnight star. And then when people come and they kind of give their like a testament of how they got to this place, I manifested it. And it sounds so simple. And then it gets painted as, I just believed. And then it's like, okay, well, I just need to believe. And that's the only part of the process. Instead of it being framed as that was the beginning of a longer journey, and that was only one aspect of it.
100%.
But I think what's so interesting is that it often is painted like that. Like I just look at what I manifested. Don't look at the hours that I put in. Forget the people that I lost. Forget my character. Forget my happiness.
Forget the debts.
Forget the debt. Forget the people that I lost along the way. The bridges that I have burnt. Don't look at any of that. Look at the manifestation, because the results are there. Yeah. And manifestation is becoming, like you said, a lot about results and not about character. And I think what's challenging then us as like young women, as young people, young entrepreneurs as well, is I see the results and I want the results. I don't really, and because the shine is on the results, I don't really care about the process. Yeah. And you're not telling me about the process either, because you're just telling me it's all about belief and wanting something rather than giving something in order to get.
That's good.
That's dangerous though.
That is so
That's
good.
dangerous. But like I said, there is some truth to it. And kind of, I guess if people are warming to it, there has to be a little something in it. Because it's working.
Oh, it does.
It's working. But why? What's the truth in manifesting?
I think you nailed it as you were speaking about this whole idea of focus, right? I think there is a very fine balance between actually working and this whole idea of manifesting, which the predecessor to manifesting is that power of positive thinking, that focus, that zeroing in on something that you actually want, that law of attraction, right? It's not even necessarily that the thing is attracted to you, but more so you are attracted to the thing. And because that's in your line of sight, it's like running a race, right? It's not that the finishing line is coming towards you. It's you going towards the finishing line.
So good.
So it's less so about something coming into your life, but more so about you channeling your time, mental energy, and your faith and your hard work, working towards something that is tangible. Yeah. So I think it's more so a case of a reversed journey or like a reversed race that manifesting is promoting, when really it should be the opposite. And I think there's definitely something to it. I mean, 100. Having vision boards and being very, very intentional about the things that you want is perfectly fine.
Having a plan,
having
all
a
of it.
plan. If you want to have a Tesla, have a Tesla.
This is
a Range Rover, a healthy relationship. That's cool. Like, these are all things that we call products, end results, goals. But make sure that when you are trying to obtain that goal, you're not just sitting in your room manifesting. Because that's not going to get it for you.
This is it.
Sitting there. Like, if I was to ask, like, Courtney, what does manifestation look like?
Ooh.
It's like, okay, cool, I've manifested it. Okay, great. But what does that look like? Am I sitting in my room meditating for 5 minutes, 10? What's the routine? What's the journey? How did you get there?
Yeah.
And if your answer is just, I've manifested it.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, that's so interesting when I think about like manifestation, and what you're saying is, I often think of like, when people talk about manifestation, they're talking about the results and the fruits of something, right? And they're describing belief as the seed, which is fine. But what they miss out is the hard work, which is the watering. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm just going to have this little seed of belief and I'm going to plant it in the ground and I'm just going to watch it. And I'm just going to tell myself there's a seed in the ground. I've got belief. Yeah, more seeds, in fact. I've got belief. You say your affirmations in the mirror and then you don't change. You write down in your journal, I'm going to have this and I'm going to look back at it in 1 year's time.
Bruh, those are the worst ones.
In 1 year's time, you come back and nothing's changed. Why? Because you didn't change. Ooh. And I feel like that's the problem with manifestation. No one talks about, if you want something, there's a journey, there's a process of growth that has to happen that takes commitment and work and consistency. And that consistency isn't just in the belief, it's in the work.
That's right.
And I feel like a lot of people aren't highlighting that bit because hard work isn't glamorous.
It's not, no.
And as much as we have criticized hustle culture and stuff, I think it's important to emphasize hard work pays off. And this is not just talking about meritocracy or anything like that. This is just about the basic principle. If you're going to sit down and do absolutely nothing, nil, what results are you going to get from that?
Zero.
Do you get what I mean? Zero. You're going to have to do something more than just saying these words, more than just thinking money's coming to me. Things are coming. The car I want is nothing in the universe will miss me.
We see you retweeting those money tweets on Twitter. We see you.
Retweet this and money will just come to you. How? How will the money come? Because are you expecting somebody to walk past you and drop money in your hand? Because that's a serious miracle.
I mean, as nice as that would be.
Yeah, but realistic, have you created... I tweeted something a couple months ago. Have you created the cup for the overflow? A lot of us are thinking, just overflow on me. You don't have anything to collect it with.
Zero.
You're talking about money will come to me. You haven't even set up a business for the money to come through. You haven't got a bank account. You've only got your personal bank account. You haven't created the cup, but you're asking for an overflow.
That's good.
Don't do that.
It's just not.
Don't do that.
It's, for me, it's really just about convergence. Like, it's really about, this thing is coming towards you, but you need to go towards it. It's not gonna just come and sit in your lap.
But do you believe things come towards you?
In a way, yes.
Okay, explain
in that. I do think that there is luck, and I do like to believe that, and less so luck, more so faith, that there are certain things that are set up for you in this life.
Yeah. Favor. I do believe in favor. However, you need to make sure that you are actually within the parameter of that favor. It's like being on a football pitch, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's about to pass you the ball. You need to make sure that you're actually in the
or it will pass you by.
Or they won't even kick the ball because there's nowhere to kick the ball to. So it's about making sure that you are in the correct position to receive the favor. But I feel like when we say something like that, people think that it means you sitting still. Like, I'm already in position. Nah, man. No, because that's the thing.
Because thinking about even the football analogy, right? Footballers spend hours training just to get in position. You have not trained.
And the thing is, they train for hours to get in position when they play the game. Mm-hmm. We don't prepare for moments of opportunity.
This is it.
And I just fully covered my mouth. We don't prepare. We don't prepare for moments of opportunity, right? Yeah. I think that we need to get our mind, and this is less so criticism or manifesting and just more so advice that I wish I had known at some points, which is, the thing that best prepares you to handle things coming to you is strengthening and training character.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they become overwhelmed. For example, this football analogy, which is actually really perfect. If somebody is hurtling a ball at you, like literally boots it at you, however miles per hour, and though you want it and you know your purpose for being on that pitch is to play football, if you feel like, crap, I haven't trained in a year, you're going to move out of the way.
Absolutely.
Or that thing is going to crush you. And I think so many of us want things, and because of right opportunity and favor and all of that, we get them and then we're overwhelmed. And then we're tired or we're crushed. And it looks glamorous because you get to hold up the trophy, you get to show the result, you get to post a picture, but you're unhappy, you're exhausted, you don't know how to manage it, people around you are leeching off of you, you feel insecure, you've got this kind of complex around you that no one around you really wants to see you succeed. How many of us are successful and tormented?
That's so good.
Do you get what I mean? Because things came to us and we became overwhelmed because we didn't train for them.
We didn't.
They just came.
And the thing is, we often, that's just perfect, because we often think that the thing that we're manifesting is the end. When really it's only a point within the full journey, right? Because when we think about, let's take a couple of examples, right? Manifesting the 6-figure business. Cool, you hit 6 figures, what now? Who is going to sustain and who is going to maintain? Because you haven't asked to, like, in your affirmations, you weren't affirming yourself of being an entrepreneur. You were affirming yourself that you would hit 6 figures.
Ooh.
So you hit 6 figures, but you're not an entrepreneur. Let's take the relationship. I want, a bae that is this height and that he's doing this and he's doing X, Y, Z. The man appears. He asks you for a date. You're in a relationship, but he's unsatisfied because you don't match up to his standards. And now you don't have capacity to maintain or sustain that relationship. So you've got the man, but the man no longer wants you.
What do you then do?
What do you then do? Because you don't have the capacity to sustain or maintain. Whilst you were manifesting the man, you were never really manifesting the relationship. You weren't manifesting or thinking about, how can I be the kind of person to sustain this kind of relationship?
This is it.
And the examples can go on. So let's not even just think about, manifesting something as a product, let's also think about how can we focus on our, as you said, character. How can we think of these things as not end products, but more so points in a ongoing journey and ongoing thing that we have to maintain and sustain. Like, I don't want to just be a manifester. I want to be a sustainer. I want to sustain.
Let's just pause right there.
There's no point. Sustain. Even when we think about a body, for example, right? When everyone's like, oh, I'm going to manifest my summer body. Yeah. Why are you manifesting your summer body every year? Surely if you got it one summer, you should be able to sustain it.
Why do you hate us on the podcast? Today will know. It's truly love, but it manifests as hatred.
No, but honestly, it's true.
The triggeration is real.
Every single year since 2012, you've been manifesting summer body.
2012.
And you got there, right? And August 5th, you got there. And yet somehow by December, you're already praying, thinking about next year, about the body you're going to manifest. Every year. Listen, we've all been there.
Yeah,
I know some
100%.
sisters are triggered.
100.
But we need to start focusing on how do we become people that sustain things over the long term, as opposed to manifesting arbitrary benchmarks.
Yeah. And it's benchmarks. And if you're people, I think for our generation, like where I kind of get sad is we want things that might not be for us. And we just think because we want it, we should get it. Do you get what I mean? Or having what you want without consequence. And I think that's one of the, and this is not just about like the spiritual aspects of manifestations. We're talking about manifestation from like a cultural, socio-cultural, online culture kind of point of view, which is dangerous, which is, I want it, I can have it.
Yeah.
That's a really dangerous way to think, because then you never cultivate delayed gratification, discipline, having to tell yourself no, and also not striving to have things just because other people have them and because other people have used it as markers of success, because it might not be what's successful for you.
100%. As well as used as marketing tools, because they'll be telling you I manifested this, and if you want to learn more, sign up.
Let's go there. So, no, because the reason why I mentioned B. Simone in the beginning of this, hey sis, if you ever watch this, love ya. I don't really follow her, anything she does, but I'm not a hater. Like, I don't hate you.
And neither a lover or a hater. I'm just like, girl, exist in it.
Yeah, go on, roll on with your thing. But I think one of the things that when I think about manifestation, I think about when she was selling like a book or a handbook or like a tool, a guide. Let's just call it a guide of basically how to get the life you want. And it basically went tits up, like just loads of stuff. Loads of stuff happened around it. But I think of people who are selling hope.
Yeah.
Selling belief.
Yeah.
Why have we gotten to this point? Because the capitalizing off of it, the monetization of hope.
Yeah, it's been
serious.
Normally these things do well when things look bleak.
Especially during this pandemic. Shah, if you tell me they just took my job, the economy's falling, recession.
Listen,
house prices are inflated more than ever.
My bills need to be paid, and you're telling me I can have anything I want? Let me open this book right here.
Best take all my money.
Let me take all my remaining money.
Take all my do not be bamboozled, please. It's the same thing with like manifest the bay. It's capitalizing off of your fear of being single.
Absolutely.
You know, manifest the life that you want. It's because you're scared that you've plateaued or you're not where. So what do you think about that?
I think you've already touched on it in the sense of people are capitalizing off of people's fears. This is what it is, because on the other side of hope, like the flip side of hope is fear. Fear that you won't live up to these expectations, fear that you will be the opposite of everything you could have hoped for.
Or the social outcast.
Absolutely. And packaging hope as something that can be as easy as a $4.99 book is great. It makes you feel like you've got your life together. I've purchased this book.
Success is in this
doing
book.
this course. It makes you feel like you're doing something, right? Like I'm on this course, manifestation course. Or in the same way that when we were talking about, like femininity, right? I'm doing this feminine course to,
I definitely see them in the same category.
Absolutely. Because it is capitalizing off of people's fears. Yeah. And I think it's rising right now because we are in a time of deep discomfort, a time of lack of economic stability, a time of, lack of cultural and social stability too. There's so many things changing at such a rapid speed that it feels like a lot of us feel so under pressure to be at the forefront, the cultural revivers, or like I'm doing something with my life. Everybody wants to have evidence that they're doing something in such a hyper surveillance time, right? Where it feels like everybody is watching you. You always want to have something in the back pocket. Like, oh, I'm working on this, or like I've done this, I've achieved this. Everyone is looking for something to show for their life. Whereas I would say couple generations ago, the surveillance wasn't as deep. People were not watching other people like that. It. Maybe it was just your neighbor also, like, maybe it was somebody down the road, but now it's like this person hundreds of thousands of miles away from me is doing this. Now I can do it by purchasing their $4.99 book on Hope.
Exactly. It's just the way you bring their $4.99 book on Hope.
Because that's what it is. And I think what can sometimes be predatory about it is the fact that people don't package these things as their specific experience or their stories, but as a all encompassing, what do you call it? Like an antidote to everybody else's problem. It's always the power of you or the power of your hope or how you can overcome, when really it's just a play-by-play of their insignificant and altogether dull reenactment of their hope in their life. It's dull. Just say that it's a podcast with Renee
because this is too much. That was serious.
No, but just say that it's a story of your life. Don't tell me and package it as a life-changing blueprint of how I'm going to change my life. This is just a play-by-play of your life and your wins, which is good for you, but don't sell it to me as I have bills to pay. Think about it. That's why I think it's even more predatory. As somebody that might, be in a really dark place, I have bills to pay. I'm looking for something to really like give me a reinforcement and change my life. And you've packaged your story as the blueprint. Package it as a story. Stop praying on me. And if it fails, now what will I...
But this is the thing.
I'm even $4.99 out of pocket now.
But this is the thing. When it fails, people blame you. Because the whole thing is about the power of you. So clearly you weren't enough. I had elevated myself. And you kind of hear this language, I elevated myself. And I guess for like more I'm like special. New age, I'm special. Yeah, like I've made myself special. I've made my thinking ironclad. Nothing can shake this belief in me. And then you start to think, oh, so
maybe there's something wrong
with me, and I just need to believe more. So you keep pumping in money, you keep doing all these things. And I think it's more so it's about thinking the goal isn't the attainment of these things. Like we are so, I'm kind of alarmed. Like we're so young. No, because let's think about it like this, yeah. A lot of these rhetoric, I know like a couple years ago or like decades ago, there was The Secret, the book and the film doc. And I get it's been around for a long time. And like we said, it's spiritual and all of these things. But the rise of it now, what makes me scared about it is very young. People are very young. And when you position yourself as an expert, before you've actually really gone through the thick of life, it's something we always say on this podcast. Me and Renee, we haven't gone through everything in life. We're only 24? We're not, we haven't, there are seasons we haven't entered into, there are things we haven't experienced. All we can give you is our ideas that will change over time, which you have to give us room to grow from, you know? And so we always tell you, we're not telling you what to think. We're never positioning ourselves as people with all the experts. Absolutely. We're doing a social commentary. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? This is what we're thinking. It's hot topics. We literally sit on this table and we just talk. My issue is, especially when the money becomes involved, when the branding becomes involved, you have to, and it's something we were talking about when we were talking about influencer culture and being a guru, you have to position yourself as an expert.
Yeah.
What happens then in 5 years when your life circumstance changes and you can no longer manifest happiness? Do you get what I mean? What happens when now you're doing, I can manifest anything and everything?
Mm-hmm.
What if in a couple of years they take back your car?
Not repossession.
What if you become broke? What if there's a recession and now your business is failing and you can't muster up that, say, you're doing all you can, you're following your blueprint and nothing's changing? What happens when you become sick and you can't manifest good health, out of yourself? No, it's a real question. Because it can be soul crushing.
It can, yeah, no, for sure.
And this is what I mean by in this belief that the things that I have depend on how strong and how good and how faithful and how good I am. Me. Myself, my self-worth, my self-affirmation, my self-identity, Whilst I believe, it's important to have a strong sense of identity and all of that, what happens when things don't go the way you want them to go? How does that affect your self-esteem? Yeah. How does that affect the way you view yourself? And even what's, like you said, more predatory about it is you've positioned yourself as an expert, you've capitalized off of this thing, and now you've seen firsthand you were wrong. Now what? Now what? And so many of us young people do it because it's, I'm building a brand and all of that. And instead of doing the work, like we've been saying, instead of doing the work and doing the behind the scenes work and everything in obscurity, so that you are strong and you really are walking the walk and talking to the talk, you just go and position yourself as an expert, read all these books that other experts who have been through stuff have written. Make these infographics with these nice, colors, and write this ebook and position yourself as an expert. You're a researcher. You're not an expert. You haven't been in the field. You haven't done this stuff.
Renee has left the chat.
No, but you get so many of us collate information from this. I've read all these books.
Not researcher. No, that's killed me today.
All of us, no, because it happens too much and it's really grinding my gears. Because I see a lot of us, even sometimes I can start to fall into it, where instead of being like, I have the experience and this is what I learned from my experience. No, I've read all of these things. I watched all of these YouTubers. I watched this documentary and this film, and all of this sounds like it works. I did it here and there and it happened.
Yeah.
And now you're positioning yourself as an expert. You haven't gone through the tests.
You have nothing to show for
you
it.
Have no, you actually have no fruit. You have a PDF. And and I know we're going to talk about influencer culture, so it's even going to get more heated than this because I have a lot of smoke for that.
Oh, wait for it.
You have positioned yourself as this expert. And a lot of us are seeing the Tesla. We're seeing the house. We're seeing the wedding day pictures as the success, as the evidence. It's the result, but it's not the evidence. If you want to,
that is so good.
Do you get what I mean, though?
So good. I'm going to hold listen for the influencer.
Yeah, we'll get into it more. We'll get into it more in the next episode. But like, a lot of us see results and we see it as evidence. That's not the case. Do you get what I mean? That's not the case. If someone, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of an analogy that best explains it and it's not coming to me, but there's a difference. Do you get what I mean? There's a difference. Just because you're married doesn't mean you understand marriage.
That's not evidence of a good marriage.
That's not evidence of a good marriage. Or in the same That's
way,
a result.
Even like, what do you call it? Health and fitness, for example. You can see somebody that looks fit or is like thin, but that's not evidence of health.
That's not evidence of health. This is it. We see these markers. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on inside.
And then the thing is, we'll now be shocked when more information is revealed. Like that celebrity couple split up.
Let's save it for the influencer because we're getting into it too much. But yeah, this manifestation thing, just be careful that just because somebody is telling you, I just believed and that's what got me here. And I know a lot of people say, no, like they emphasize the hard work too. But the core of manifestation is the element of belief and then channeling all of your energy, channeling all of your actions towards this belief, right? And letting that drive you towards your goal. And yes, like we said, there's an element of truth in that for sure. But be careful that you're not just sitting around doing, I'm elevating my vibrations so that I can attract something to come to me. I'm personally not convinced. That's what I'm going to say. So then let's hop on to, before, I know I've offended somebody there, but it's between you and your maker. Anyways,
so goes that one dislike, that one dislike.
100. But okay, so what is we've talked about it, but how do you balance belief and hard work?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you get to a point where you say, okay, I believe in something, now I'm going to go for it? What's the right way to do it, essentially? Because we've done a lot of critiquing, which is good. You know? We love to have a good rant.
A good little rant. Okay, so I've got an analogy for this one. I don't know, I feel like today's been the day that we're using a lot of analogies to illuminate, to tell stories, like storytellers.
We love it.
But I see belief as the gas and hard work as the car. So you can't have one without the other.
Right.
In order to actually get somewhere and go, you need the gas, but the gas needs to be channeled through something and it needs to be operated through something, which is the car, the hard work. You can't work hard at something you don't care about. You can't work hard when you don't have a belief in something.
Yes.
But also, you can't just believe and think that the thing will happen.
Yeah.
So you need both components of the vehicle to work, the gas and the car.
Yeah.
So I think that when it comes to belief and hard work, belief is the seed, right? You start with the seed. You do your vision board, whatever works for you. If you have vision board, a list, whatever.
Yeah, your journal,
whatever it is, and just actually write down, think about and visualize what it is that you actually want. It can be something material, but I think we should also start thinking about how can we make this less tangible as well. Like, how can I become the kind of person that is, like, how can I become an entrepreneur or like a successful entrepreneur as opposed to just owning a 6-figure business?
This is it.
How can I become and change myself such that I can have a healthy relationship with somebody I really care about, as opposed to manifesting a 6 foot tall man that is, working.
You know what? When you just mentioned that, it made me think, like, there are many ways. When you just put, I want 6 figures, there's many ways to get money.
Absolutely.
There's many ways
You
to
can
end
deal
up in a
drugs.
relationship. Exactly.
They say this
People
is a
are
big
criminals.
rich town.
I just come from the smallest parts. Bright light, city life. I gotta make it.
Child.
Be careful. No. The reason why I say it is a lot of us don't know where people have got what they have from.
Listen, we don't even have enough time.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna, but just
time.
I just want you to maybe note it down somewhere in your jotter, on the corner of the page. A lot of us don't know where people got things from. And also, like we said earlier, what's happening behind the scenes, right? Because I manifested my ideal partner and he's not everything that you actually wanted, right? It's
probably mad.
He could very well be. Or I manifested, I don't know, this 6-figure business, and it's like,
it's fraud.
Sorry, that's what came to my mind.
Do you know what's funny about the fraud thing? I was actually watching a documentary on fraud the other day, and it was there that I learned what the whole business behind dropping your squares and all that kind of stuff means. I watched that, I was like, wow, so that's what that means.
People are criminals, and a lot of people are fraudsters. Like, you think to yourself, if we really inspect, take off, and this is what I'm talking about, like, and we'll get into it with the influencer culture. Wow, I'm just gonna say that you need to watch that episode when it comes out, because I think a lot of us see followers and we think verified.
Yeah.
Vanity
metrics.
Vanity metrics. And we give into it so much. So then when someone says manifesting, we think it's legit. And then anyway, we've just said those points. So go on. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. So I think that, like I said, being able to balance hard work and belief means that you have a healthy dose of both, and that you start with your vision. You start, whether it's material or not. Usually, it's a healthy mix of both.
Yeah.
you have your goal, and then you start setting up your plan to actually get there.
Yeah.
What are the practical stuff that you can be doing to get there?
Yeah.
And we've done a ton of episodes on different spheres and different places in your life that you can apply this to.
Yeah.
You can, if you're building a side hustle, what does the practicalities behind that look like? Building a business, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Building a healthy relationship, building a healthy view of yourself.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like? We've got lots of episodes where you guys can go back and check and listen on our practical tips. But that's the point. What are the practical ways in which I can now put my faith to work?
I love that you said that, because I was going to say the balance is the evidence of faith is work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you really believe in something, you're going to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
If you believe something is going to happen for you, you're going to make yourself change. If you actually have faith for something, you start doing the difficult things, right? Like if I have faith that I can walk on water, I have to actually go and put my foot on an ocean. You're going to have to go. And yes, that means you're going to have to overcome your fears. You're going to have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to do things which you've never done before. That make you uncomfortable. And that's good. That's the process. Don't have disdain for the process. I think a lot of us think, life is just going to be like the essence of the manifestation thing to me is us trying to make life easy. Yeah. Life, I've said this so many times, life is not fair. Life is not easy.
It's just not.
It's not. It's and hard work. It's the point of being alive is constant growth. Yeah. Like that you constantly, your body is constantly growing, cells are constantly dividing, multiplying, regenerating, all of these things. The whole essence of being a human being is growth, it's regeneration, all of these things. A lot of us don't take those and apply that to our character and our souls and our minds and all of these things in making sure that, am I constantly evolving? Yeah. Am I constantly growing? Or do I just want things to come to me as I am?
100%.
No, that's not how things, like you said, that's not how things become, that's not how things are sustained. And I love that you said it's about practicality. It's not just about what's in here and what you say out of your mouth and what you have hidden in your heart. It's about what are your feet doing and what are your hands doing?
Put it to work.
Put it to work. And another thing that I kind of want to mention is analysis paralysis. You can read all of these blueprints and think the more I read about manifestation, the more it will work for me. The more I read about discipline, the more it will work for me. No. Mm-hmm. I think so many of us for our generation, we are so overwhelmed with knowledge. Yeah. That we've become frustrated because our knowledge is never applied. If we are to apply our knowledge, we'll become less frustrated.
100%.
And we'll also realize that we don't need as much as we soak up, because we're constantly, you go on Twitter, someone's telling you this business tip, that business tip, this personal information, galore, YouTube information. And it's information here, that you don't even know what direction to now walk in. You can't even remember the last thing you heard.
And who you heard it from. So next time you go to another conference or you buy another book, you're going to read the same thing and you're going to go, yeah, that's a word. You heard that last year. It's not new to you, but you're so overwhelmed by information that you can't remember what you know. Absolutely.
So I think if we took time to kind of step back, and I'm learning this for myself, and actually consume a bit less.
Yeah. Be intentional.
And be more intentional. Mm-hmm. About what we consume, how much we consume, and then how we live it out, it'll be so much better for us. Because if you were able to read some people, the amount of self-help books they have on their wall,
it's too much.
You're thinking, how much help do you need?
Do you get what I mean?
So much help. Are you sick? Why do you need so much help? The thing is, what if you just took one book that you read? No, because then we encourage ourselves. We're like, of course I'm working on myself. I'm reading all of this stuff, or I'm watching all of these videos and I'm doing all of these things, but you haven't manifested anything. Actually, let's even use it. You haven't manifested anything. You're reading a whole lot about manifestation. You're reading a whole lot about faith. You're reading a whole lot about personal development, but you haven't personally developed.
I'm screaming, no.
If you know, it's a whole bunch of theory. If you read so much about driving, it's not going to make you a good driver until you launch yourself behind a wheel.
This is true.
And you start going. And yes, you'll make mistakes.
This is not a lie, no.
And it's a mix of consuming too much information and then being a perfectionist because of it. Because somebody has told you this is how it's all going to play out, you're thinking, if I start and it doesn't look like that, then clearly I don't know enough. Actually, you know enough. It's just you need more practice. A lot of us don't practice.
Yeah.
We read so that our first time we're perfect.
Yes.
When you do your theory test
for the first time, you're trash.
You're terrible.
Trash.
I remember, I still don't know how to ride a bike, yeah? But do you know how many people I've seen ride bikes? There was one guy that lived in my block, yeah? Diego. He can we have the same birthday. Yeah, shout out to Diego. He can ride a bike like he should enter competitions. Wow. I used to watch him ride one wheel. He could flip, he could jump in the air, all of that. I kept watching him. To this day, 20 years later, I don't know how to ride a bike. Okay. Yeah? And if I do jump on a bike, I'm not going to start riding like him. Do you get what I mean? And so a lot of us read people's results and we think, because I've read enough and because I know enough, and I think the education system is what's faulted us. The belief that in order to be accredited, in order to be successful, you should just know.
It's just a theory.
You should just have things in your mind. And then when it comes to doing it, we get discouraged because then we fail.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
That's dangerous. The manifesting thing is a tough one because there's truth in it. But there's also
a whole lot of lies.
A whole heap of danger, misconceptions, massive misconceptions. But we hope that this episode has actually helped you. And we are actually interested to hear, are you somebody who believes in manifestation? Do you believe that out of our thinking, we can create things and get things, okay? Do you believe that? Why do you? Why don't you? And what do you think, culturally from manifestation? What do you think are some of the shortfalls and the truths about it? Talk to us, because I'm sure we all have very different beliefs depending on your backgrounds, your faith, your whatever. So let's have a good conversation. Let's be respectful. Okay? But
keep it classy.
Keep it classy. But definitely tell us what it is that you think about manifestation here on YouTube in the comments. If you are listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you are listening to our podcast, you can go and just join the sisterhood over on Instagram and just at us under one of our posts, or DM us, come and talk to us using the handle @ToMySisterhood. And you can also follow myself and Renee. My handle is @CD Boating, and she is the lovely @Renee Kapuku.
And of course, don't forget to join up to our mailing list so that you can get more tips and tricks on your personal development, as well as the theme of the week, which is #manifestation. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We tweet a lot. Great stuff. Same handle as Instagram, which is @ToMySisterhood. Now, we'll be back very, very soon
with a juicy convo.
Juicy conversation. We'll be back before you know it, so don't cry too hard. We see you, sis. Wipe up those tears now. Don't cry too soon. Don't cry too hard. And remember, keep glowing and growing.